You know, in the whole spiritual world today, you hear these words thrown around all the time, right? Magic, manifestation, prayer. And honestly, they can start to sound like they all mean the same thing. It gets pretty confusing. So today, we're going to untangle all of that. We're going to get really clear on what each one is, and more importantly, how they all fit together.
So yeah, what is the real difference between these three incredibly powerful practices? You've probably asked yourself that. Are they just different flavors of the same thing, or are there some really fundamental distinctions? Well, that's the big question we're diving into today.
I absolutely love this quote from our source material because it sets us up perfectly. Just imagine a single, ancient temple, and it has 3 different doors. Each one is a totally valid way to get inside: magic, manifestation, and prayer. The path you take through each door might feel really different, but they're all about one thing: connecting with that something bigger, with the unseen.
All right, so let's actually walk through those 3 doors one by one. And to help us out, we're going to frame them as different ways of interacting with this kind of universal energy. Our source calls it the current. The real secret here is in how you decide to engage with that flow.
First up, we've got magic. Now, the whole idea with magic is active participation. The mindset is literally, I shape the current. This is not about just sitting back and wishing for things. No way. It's about using your focused intention, maybe some specific tools like candles or symbols, to actively direct energy. The analogy is perfect. It's like you're standing in a river and using your own hands to move the water where you want it to go. You are a co-creator here.
Okay, next door, manifestation. Here, the mindset totally shifts. We go from shaping to aligning. I align with the current. The whole game here is to change your internal world, your thoughts, your beliefs, your feelings, so that you become an energetic match for what you want. Think of it like tuning an old-school radio. You have to dial yourself to just the right frequency. And once you're locked in, boom, the signal, your desired outcome, comes through loud and clear.
And our third door is prayer. This one is all about surrender. The mindset is, I surrender to the current. So instead of directing energy or even aligning with it, you're actually communicating with a higher power. You're releasing that need for personal control and just placing your trust in a divine will. It's really an act of devotion, kind of like stepping out of that river entirely and just letting the ocean's tide carry you where you're meant to go.
Now this chart really lays it all out so clearly, doesn't it? Just look at that roll row. You go from directly shaping in magic to aligning yourself in manifestation and finally to complete surrender in prayer. And check out the level of control. It literally goes from high to low across the board. This visual just perfectly illustrates that fundamental shift in your relationship with that universal energy.
So we have these nice, neat little definitions, but here's where it gets interesting. In the real world, in actual practice, these paths blend together all the time. A really fantastic way to see this in action is to look at different goddess traditions. That's where the lines between magic, ritual, and pure devotion can get beautifully blurry.
You see, in a lot of spiritual paths, magic isn't some separate thing from worship. It is a form of worship, a way to interact with the divine. So in Wicca, for example, magic is all about working with these divine feminine forces. In Hindu Shaktism, you have practices like chanting mantras, which are a form of energy work. For these traditions, magic is almost like a kind of spiritual technology. It's a way to tune your soul.
But then, on the flip side, you have traditions that are purely devotional. Paths like Bhakti Yoga in Hinduism, or even some modern spiritual movements, they focus entirely on just honoring and loving and connecting with the divine feminine. For them, the goal isn't to influence anything, but simply to be in that loving relationship.
In this slide, this gets right to the heart of it. Just picture this. 2 people can be doing the exact same thing, lighting a candle, speaking an intention, calling on a goddess, but one person will say, I'm doing magic, and the other will say, I'm praying. The only real difference is their internal perspective, their own personal framework. It's the same flame, just a different language. Okay, so if the paths can blend so easily, maybe there's a deeper way to look at this, a framework that actually holds all 3 together. And our source material offers this really beautiful perspective called Arreqqana, which sees these practices not as separate things at all, but as interconnected parts of a bigger concept called thread work.
And this model just reframes our 3 concepts so elegantly. So, magic, that becomes thread weaving, acting with intention in the fabric of reality. Manifestation, that's thread resonance, becoming what you seek, vibrating with it. And prayer, that's thread surrender,
trusting the greater pattern that's being woven. See? They're not three separate doors anymore. They're three integrated skills in one single holistic craft.
And all of this brings us to a final and maybe a more profound way of looking at everything we've talked about. After we've explored the differences and seen how they can blend, there's one last core idea that just ties it all together.
I think this sums it up so poetically. Magic is our attempt to move the world. Manifestation is our attempt to match the world's frequency. And prayer is about letting the world move you. Each one is a totally valid stance, just a different kind of relationship to the flow of life itself.
And so we end with this thought. Maybe the ultimate truth here is that we've been asking the wrong question all along. Maybe it's not about how we interact with the current, as if we're somehow separate from it. What if we are the current? And what if all of these practices, magic, manifestation, and prayer, are just different ways the universe, through us, learns its own rhythm? Now that's something to think about.